What's up, everybody? You through to Becoming Podcast. I'm your host, Jean Davids. As I said last week, that we are going to start Becoming Podcast again, and I think it's way overdue of having this podcast. So, for people that don't know what the podcast is about, or for people that are tuning in for the very first time, wondering like what is Becoming all about, I just thought I'll take you guys through to like where it all started, what was the reason behind him, what is the meaning of becoming him, just that you can understand that what you are going to tune in for the future. So becoming for this past 5 years, I think that becoming was a podcast basically just to have us become a better him, a better man, a better role model in the future for our sons out there, and just like any man to aspire to. But what is becoming? Why becoming? Why this podcast and not any other podcast? I think becoming, firstly, what becoming is that it is a play on words. So if you know me, you know I like to play on words from our shows, from joking or joking to love and laugh to funny festive. There's a lot of stuff that I love doing and playing around with words, and I think becoming is one of those things where I use the become him as in to become a better him, but also become him like as in progressive, like you always becoming better. It's always, there's a never stop. It's always gonna be a next step, a next journey, a next thing that you need to aspire to, and that's why I use become him. But the meaning of what becoming was the fact that it's becoming him, like that particular guy, as in becoming that guy, the him. And for me personally, it was the becoming him, like as in becoming like Christ, the stand of what Christ have said. And that is the reason why we had becoming, or the word for the becoming podcast. And then that is basically the meaning behind what becoming podcast is all about. That's just where we have the discussions of how do we address certain topics, or how do we encourage other young men, or how do we correct our young men to become actually a better him. I think our young people is out there, they always look at gangsterism, and that's something that they aspire to, and there's very seldom where there is actual role models in our communities that we can look up to and become like that person. And so that is the reason why we literally had to start this. And I think this all started in 2022. That's just after the COVID pandemic. I remember speaking to a friend of mine, and if he's watching, you will remember this. We were still back in 2020, around about March, April side, and we always used to have, whenever we catch up, we would have this conversations, like just like encouraging one another and encouraging one another to do better, become better hustlers. We want to do something. And I remember one night when we were chatting, I remember I told him, what's the worst part of this discussion that we're having? Is the fact that when we leave here, nobody will know the nuggets that we have left here behind, like actual good sayings or things that could help other people. Like nobody will know. This will just be like a word in the wind, and it will disappear. And I'm like, we should do something, and we then obviously spoke about it, and we were like, no, we're gonna do it. So bear in mind, he used to be a rapper, so he had all the equipment. I was like, I'm gonna look at the content and things like that. And then we started doing the podcast. And I remember we live in Bedouin, like in the circle. So you live opposite my grandma over the park, and then he would carry his equipment. And this is now his headphones, his microphones, his computer, literally his computer, over in the box. Get it to me, plug in, set it up. and then we would do this podcast. So I wonder if we still have some of the podcasts, but yeah, this is what we used to do. And we would record certain topics, and we would get in. I think we had one guest back then, Donovan, my friend. He used to be one of the guests then. And then having him, obviously we're shooting it in my grandma's place, so she's there. Then we had to organize for her to go to the neighbor, maybe for that half an hour. And then, or she will be in the room, we close the room. We close not the room that I used to stay in, close that room. And I remember this is in the ghetto, so now children is playing outside, they're kicking balls and stuff like that. So we try to kind of minimize that sound from outside, and this is basically how it started. And then after a while, we became busy and we couldn't shoot anymore, because maybe it will be I'm available and then he is unavailable, or maybe he's available, I'm not available, and that's how we couldn't shoot the podcast. Not like wow, how we're doing it now, visual. Back then it was playing on recording, just recording it, and we didn't have much. But yeah, that is literally how it started off, of how we started the podcast. And then I remember after that, I was just like, I didn't have the equipment, but I'm like, I have a phone, and I started using my phone to record, and I would just in the house record on the normal recording app on the phone, record it, and then I was like, this is how I want the podcast to be. We're going to address financial topics, physical, spiritual, family matters, and all of this. I think back then it was still Black Lives Matter, the Men Not Trash topic, and so that's where that kind of started in. And then I just recorded my first episode, was like 2 minutes, and then the following week I then recorded another episode. And I remember my first guest for that podcast, and I don't know if she can remember that night, but Danielle, she was a friend of mine, and she came over and we recorded. And I'm telling you, recording that night was literally also dogs barking in the background. It's just my phone. My phone was, when your phone falls, that cracks in. It wasn't the best of phones. I recorded. She was sitting on by the table. I'm sitting by the table, and it's just like us sitting here, pressing record and recording it. Me editing afterwards, and that's literally how it started from there. And as time went on, we started getting a friend of mine that had a camera. He started then joining and editing our videos, and it literally grew from there. And we then had my friend's coffee shop, G Square, Jono. We started recording his coffee shop, the podcast. We get guests in, and we had amazing guests. If you didn't watch the 12 episodes, I will encourage you to take the time and go watch the episodes. Even if you don't want to watch it, but you want to listen to it on Spotify, I would really encourage you. There was really some good conversations and guests that we had when it came to how it is that we can address topics to become a better him. But yeah, that's how it started. A lot of things can happen in the meantime where life just happened. I remember, and from now past, I was a single man, didn't have anybody, and now I'm married. My wife, my child is coming in April. So a lot of stuff have changed, a lot of things have changed since then, but I do feel the need of actually doing this podcast, because it's important that we understand or address the topics. So like what is it that you are going to do different, what is it that you are going to, it's not just making remarks about how men are or how society is, but you don't have an input. And that's the reason why I feel we need to get this up and running again. And I'm thinking where it all started, I had back then, I used to look at, I'm a very deep thinker, so back then I remember being very young. I used to look at just everything, and I can say that in every sphere of my life, whether it is in the community that I live in, whether it is in family, whether it is in the church, whether it is at work, wherever, I would always look for somebody that I could aspire to. And I can tell you, it was very seldom that I could actually say that this is somebody I aspire to, this is the him that I can look up to. And that is the reason why I used to look at why do we need to have this podcast. Is because we have very few men that we can look up to, especially our young men out there. That's why they join the gangsterism. That's why they don't aspire to become a better man, because they just like, that is what it is. This is life. But I'm here to say to somebody that no matter where you are, and no matter if you don't have that mentor or that somebody that you can connect with or to become better, like, this podcast is evidence that you don't need much. You just need a broken phone that can record, and we started this. So this is where we really want to encourage our people, is to start, especially our young men. Like, you don't have maybe mentors in your life that can help you, that guide you, but there's the internet. Get a book, start by reading, start by taking a jog, getting physically healthier, start by saving at least 50 rand, 5%, 10% of your money. Start by doing something different, because next year this time, if you're going to stay within the cycle of where we are right now, nothing's going to change. We're going to have the same excuse. We're going to have the same things. You're going like, yeah, but I didn't have my dad. Yeah, I didn't have an uncle I can look up to. But you have God. Like, you have things around you that is accessible. And I think one of the things that also came to mind was a good friend of mine, Ellery Cook. He had one of his books is the components of vision, and I think in one of his chapters he writes that in this whole chapter called have the right attitude, there's a point that he writes, and he says that you didn't think that you can't do it and come up with multi-million-dollar excuses why you can't. I like this part, and it says, he said, have faith, speak those things you want to see into being, and believe with the attitude that you already have been done, that this have already been done. And so for me, just that point for me encouraged me again to start this thing. And this is to somebody out there that is maybe thinking, yo, Jean, I would like to share my story. I would like to have a seat and actually encourage young men. There's some people that I know that were ex-gangsters, some people that started their own business coming from nothing. If you're that guy and you're like, yo, Jean, I would like to leave my story, I'd like to give my encouragement, you DM us, inbox us on Instagram, Facebook, email us, BecomeHim2020@gmail.com if you're still using emails, and let us know, like, what is it that you'd like to, why do we need you here? What is it that you will tell our younger listeners as to what can change them? What can you put into the bucket of becoming him to change our society? And so, yeah, if there is any other case that you can think like, yo, Jean, this is the case that I would love you to speak. I think there's a few cases that I had in the past that I would love to have here again. There's a lot of cases that I can think. I can't think about the names right now, but there's a few cases that I would love to have here. I think Mr. Franz Kalkwijk is one of them. There's a lot of other ones, Peter, Jason, a lot of them that was in here that I can remember having these conversations. And that is for me, like, those are the people that we want. Let me know who you think as to who you want on this carpet, this couch. and then let's see what we can do. Let's see what conversation we can have as a community. Become a better him. Let us know what is some of the stuff that you're struggling with that you want us to address. Maybe finance, maybe physical health, emotional health, mental health, something that you're struggling with, or some of the challenges that you had. Maybe it is you're just married, maybe it is you just became a father, and these are the topics that you want to talk about. Let us know. We can have a conversation. I don't know it all, but I do think that with God on our side, we can then answer these questions. We can address this stuff, and how we can change. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I'd love to see you guys next week. Also, don't forget to share it, subscribe, comment, leave your ideas of what you'd like to see, what you'd like us to talk about. And you never know, maybe next time you're sitting here having this conversation or your topic is being addressed here. But yeah, I'm John Davis, guys, and I'm out. Say.